For regular viewers of this channel, you know that as an American and a guy who likes technical players, as most Kool-Aids do, I was very excited about the signing of Sergiño Dest to FC Barcelona. Honestly, I didn't think it would happen. Bayern just humiliated Barcelona, they had a better financial offer, and they've proven over the last decade or so that they're better at developing their own talent. Yet, we should have believed Dest when he said that Barcelona was his dream club. In my defense, a lot of players say that. And Barcelona hasn't necessarily been very good at winning those transfer battles lately. The last one was Frankie de Jong, also from Ajax. And once again, we should say thank you to Mark Overmars, who have allowed Barcelona to pay Dest's transfer fee over multiple windows due to their current financial struggles. So now that Dest is in Catalonia, and as a fan of the US men's national team, I got to thinking, how would the signing of Dest to Barcelona affect American soccer? A little disclaimer, if you come here for just the Barca stuff, I totally understand if you want to sit this one out, and we'll see you for the next match review. But if you do have an interest in what's happening here across the pond, this video could be a bit of fun today. Hi, I'm Dan Hilton. This is a Barcelona Podcast, American edition, YouTube exclusive. The first way that people assume an American at Barcelona could help the US is financially. I always see the argument about shirt sales, and having an American in the first team would let Barca better tap into the North American market, but that's almost a non-factor. For starters, shirt sales aren't really a figure that matters unless you're talking Messi, Ronaldo, or Neymar. In 2018-19, Barca sold more than 1.9 million units, but a club only receives about 5 to 20% of the retail price. And while I'm not a math whiz, that would mean that a jersey going for €150 only makes the club around €15. Sponsorships, gate revenue, stupid COVID, and loans all make up exponentially larger parts of the pie. So crossing jerseys off the list, you'd also think that having a player at Barca might get more people to watch the club. Well, that is true for teams that never had an American presence before, say Schalke or Fulham for example. But Barca are a global brand that has skyrocketed in popularity, as their 21st century success has coincided with ballooning Champions League coverage and major broadcasting deals. More ways to watch, more eyes to watch. In a report done by Brand Finance in 2018, La Liga was still the third most popular in terms of consumer awareness, behind just the MLS and the Premier League. Of the 2,000 American soccer fans surveyed, now I would love for that number to be a little bit higher if you ask me, but anyway, 39% were aware of Barcelona, and 26% said that they were fans of the club. That's the highest of any club, domestically or internationally, surveyed in the US. As far as the soccer market goes, Barcelona do have success in the US. I didn't need a survey to tell me that. That outreach to the States increased with the opening of the office in New York City opening in 2016. And the academies that continue to pop up around North America don't hurt either. The real challenge for Barca's brand, like any sport honestly, is trying to break into a competitive sports scene that already contains the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, UFC, NASCAR, and even MLL and AUDL. That's lacrosse and ultimate frisbee for those wondering. Dest won't be shouldering that burden, but he certainly won't hurt. Even if it's just showing off your Dest Barca jersey for all those bandwagon national team fans every 4 years at the World Cup, because some of those do wind up sticking around. Maybe I shouldn't have started with the boring stuff, but for those who stuck around, now it's time to hear about the stuff you want to hear about. Public opinion. What I do know from living in the US is that most of US soccer media cover the leagues where the most Americans play. So the Premier League and the Bundesliga get the most burn here. It didn't hurt that for the last 5 years, those two leagues were on more available networks in NBC and Fox Sports. Though that has changed recently with all of those overflow games of Premier League moving to Peacock and Bundesliga now moving to ESPN. La Liga, meanwhile, is on beIN Sports, which is less available to cable subscribers. But accessibility aside, watching two Bundesliga clubs gives you about a 10% chance of seeing an American play. In the Liga, last year at least, it was 0%. For those wondering, right back Shaq Moore is a starter for Tenerife in the second division, but you need a hope and a prayer to watch Tenerife games in the US. But now, there is a reason to watch La Liga, at least Barca games. Playing with the Juvenil A last season, Conrad de la Fuente was on the radar of many American pundits, but the Under-20 World Cup was the only real sample size non-Barca fans who like to dig deep into U19 content would have seen. But then the Barca B playoffs happened, and even though they didn't beat Sabadell in the final, Conrad showed out, as they say, scoring goals and having much of the offense run through his left flank. With an extended bench and 5 substitutes, the American winger has been on the bench to start the season, and Ronald Koeman has said he's been impressive. Barca B don't start officially playing for a few more weeks by the way, so Conrad could still make his first team debut sooner than later. I have seen a ton of people in the comments ask whether or not he should be tried out at left back. And if reports in Mundo Deportivo are to be believed, Koeman may have been reading the comment sections. Okay, not really, but between Alba, Junior Firpo, Juan Miranda, and maybe Conrad, the Dutch legend needs to solidify that left back position until at least January. Like Conrad, who was born in Miami to Haitian parents and moved to Spain at the age of 10, Dest did not get most of his soccer education in the US. In fact, the Dutch-born right back, whose father is American and mother is Dutch, joined Ajax way back in 2012, which for a 19-year-old is a while ago. But this duo has always featured for US youth teams, for De La Fuente starting at the U16s and Dest the U17s. The national team they chose to play for was their choice, but it clearly wasn't a rushed decision to pick the United States. Now for the part you've been waiting for, some concrete answer as to what Sergiño Dest at Barcelona means for American soccer. Well, it means a similar thing as Christian Pulisic at Chelsea, Tyler Adams at RB Leipzig, Weston McKennie at Juventus, Gio Reyna at Borussia Dortmund, Chris Richards at Bayern Munich, Timothy Weah at Lille, Josh Sargent at Werder Bremen, and there are a few more I'm missing. I'm still not that old, but 20 years ago, if you told me that American youngsters not only would be playing at those clubs, okay, so RB Leipzig wasn't really a thing 20 years ago, but if you told me that these kids were not only playing for those clubs, but many of them were important players for those sides, I'd have called you crazy. Having players at these clubs raises not only the ceiling for the US men's national team, but also the floor. We're seeing the same thing with Alphonso Davies in Canada. There is a belief that moves through a team when you have players that have already done it on the biggest stage. Sergiño Dest becoming the starting right back for FC Barcelona one day does wonders for US soccer, because not only do American kids see that it is possible to wear the stars and stripes and play for the biggest sides in the world, but those lofty international dreams for the US become a bit more possible. I'm not saying Dest going to Barca wins the United States the World Cup. I'm saying that if this generation is followed by 2 more generations of players on these trajectories, the US may be in a spot to figure out this whole soccer thing after all. I know there are a lot of topics and nuance to how that happens that I didn't talk about here, but those are questions that I leave for the experts of American soccer to talk about. I'm going to be busy looking at training pictures for the 30th time. There is an argument that of all the Americans, Dest actually has the highest ceiling, due in large part to the competition at his position. Pulisic has some competition to be considered in that elite class of wingers in the world. And I'm not complaining at all at the level of the Chelsea star at 22 years old. But Dest as a right back is only competing with all those other right backs, and there just aren't as many of that position at a world-class level around the globe. Dest is a United States trailblazer at FC Barcelona, the first American to sign for the club as a first-teamer. And now that the first stone has been laid, the road may be easier for the next one. And when the next one does come along, make sure you keep up with this channel because you know we're going to be covering it. And to make sure you don't miss it, give this video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications to make sure you get all of our good content, whether it's the podcast or our match reviews. And as always, most importantly, until next time, Forza Barca.